Okay, thank you, Mubashir. And Good morning to everyone. Okay, Mubashir, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. Your screen is
Okay, that's good.
displayed to us. Thank you.
First of all, I am happy to speak to you from platform of Alhuda and likewise from other professional organization on today's specialized training workshop on Sukuk. That is commenced for June 13 and 14, and today's its second day. And we are there to proceed with this specific topic about Sukuk, Islamic securities. So, in first day, especially in first session, you have completed overview of current Islamic banking and financial market from professional trainers, and after this one, you moved on in second session about introduction to Sukuk structure from different perspectives. Then you make familiar about Sukuk versus conventional securitization. What is the difference and what is the background about different legal and rating its ingredients we discussed in detail. In third session, yesterday's you did Sukuk structuring, pricing, and trading, all these aspects, and you ended up to this one. And today this is fourth session, and start of this session is with a new topic about risk factors in Sukuk. About risk and factors in Sukuk, then takaful products for Sukuk. Likewise, then in fifth session we will do utilization of Sukuk in Islamic banking and Islamic financial industry from different perspectives. Then in last session we will discuss Sukuk guarantee different topics that are mixed in this specific session. What is guarantee of Sukuk default, Sukuk restructuring, Sukuk transaction audit, and Sukuk applications. I think this would be nice introduction. And as a trainer, as a teacher, I will tell you about all these aspects. Especially, we are going to start from risk factors in Sukuk. Keep in mind that your prerequisite yesterday's topics, I am assuming that you have done and you have gone through and you have conceived the concepts. So what are they provided to you? And today's contents are there in front of you, that risks in Sukuk transactions, then how this risk is managed from Sharia perspective, whether it is having legitimacy in Sharia according to Quran and Sunnah, then derived principles of Islamic jurisprudence, whether they allow to manage the risk, and then what is documentation. Through documentation, how the things are there provided on legal platform, and the different types of the risks are managed through this documentation, and the things are kept in specific sequence. Then some case studies about Sukuk, what is going on in practice and how these things are being implemented, the risk management practices after identification, the potential risk, then how for Sharia canons are being cared in these kind of documentation and case studies practically. So first we start. Uh, what is risk and how it is linked with this Cook structure? Okay, risk is about to fear some kind of the event, what is being happen in future, and you as a manager, you as a product developer, as a regulator, as a investor, you are assuming that the things are being happen. When the things will happen, then how to deal with them? What type of the practices are there? If we talk with reference to Sukuk, then there is very deep link of risk with the structure of Sukuk. What you have done in last session, different structures are there provided. The main Sukuk structures are what you have discussed in yesterday's session. These are sometimes debt based with different features, okay, where the relationship between parties, when debt based are there, this is oriented to debt like lender and the borrower, and the features of the debt are there found in it. Then equity based Sukuk are also there. Then asset based, Okay, equity based when there is the some kind of the asset in its backup, then equity based, likewise asset based, agency based, some kind of the wakala type contracts are there. Then hybrid structure, while mingling different contracts, one of the product is designed with title of Sukuk, and this appear with a hybrid structure that, as usually in market you can see that there is ejara and then sale back. Likewise, there is ijara and wakala. Sometime with mudarba, some other structures are also there. So these are the hybrid type instruments what are provided. So they arise directly from the requirement of Sukuk to confirm the Sharia or to the fundamental ethical principles of Islamic finance and business. So this is also one of necessary condition that when we are talking about Sukuk, then Sukuk is actually this is the plural word. Its singular is sakun. This is the Arabic word swad. This is the swad word, swad and kaf. Okay, by combining these both, it means to stamp any kind of thing. It means originator is actually issuing this Sukuk with stamp that ultimately they are responsible while issuing this one. So in such a way, its structure is designed, whether this is equity based, debt based, asset based, agency based, or the hybrid type of the product, that it should be conformed with the law of business contract, what is provided in Islamic knowledge stream. Then Sukuk risk profile are directly related to Sukuk structure. The Sukuk structure risks are essentially Sharia risk. Okay, there are different type of the risk what may appear there, but Sharia risks are very important, because your customer base who are coming to you and investing into Sukuk, they are interested to know about whether this type of the investment is Sharia based or not Sharia based. So Sharia compliance risk, or the usually it is called in short form for convenience Sharia risk. It means if any step is not Sharia compliant, or there is the structural problem due to which it is not in conformity with the Sharia, or the some kind of the you can say confusion is found about it, when this type of the thing appear, then this lead to maturity of risk. It means people who are investing with you, they flew away and they start withdrawing their investment. Why? Because due to this specific Sharia perspective, they are not going to conventional bonds what are bearing interest. So this customer base is so sensitive about interest, because they don't want to go at war against Allah and below Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Quran clearly says fazanu biharbi min Allahi wa rasulihi. So they are not going to this one, so therefore they are coming to invest into Sukuk. If there is not Sharia compliance, after maturing this risk, this may default a Sukuk or the any other institution what is providing Islamic financial services if Sharia risk matures. We intend to evaluate in this session, we intend to evaluate of the risk arising from these Sukuk structures, and you are already familiar with Sukuk structure. So if we move on, what is the importance of Sukuk risk? Sukuk structure risks will be highly significant in explaining Sukuk returns and returns volatilities. So this is important, because different structures, as you have learned in last sessions, different structure are having different type of features. They create different type of the relationship among parties. If we see the basic two drivers of Sukuk, one is the originator who is arranging fund for his or her organization, and the second one is investor who is managing investment, or the extra liquidity is being managed by the Sukuk. So if we see both of them, then these both drivers are having different types of the risk profile associated to the Sukuk. So what type of the returns are there coming out from the Sukuk, and what type of the return volatility are there in market due to change in your political environment, or the global environment, or the different other economic conditions. So definitely this environment is affecting your returns and volatility. So this is deeply linked with structure. Sometimes the same market of the Sukuk is there, but you can see that Ijara based Sukuk is performing better as compared to Murabha based Sukuk, because Murabha based Sukuk don't have facility of a secondary market. It cannot be sold. When once you are holding it forever. We will discuss this issue in next. Whereas if you are having ijara based sukuk or the other type of the structures are there, this is having feature of secondary market. In secondary market, you can sell and you can have liquidity for your any kind of purpose. So in such a way, as structure changes, vehicle contract changes, returns and the volatility of the return also changes. There are various risks faced by sukuk industry, namely market risk, credit risk, okay, counterparty risk, Sharia compliance risk, operational risk, institutional rigidity. So all these type of things are very important. What are keeping sukuk at risk, and these risks are associated with sukuk. If we see sukuk industry, then market risk, it means in market there are the different type of the fluctuatility in your return volatility is also there. So credit or the counterparty risk, this is also that your counterparty to whom you who is investing in sukuk, there is the possibly different type of the risk associated with his or her profile as they are participating in this one. Sharia compliance, already I have explained. Operational risk, then in operations, different type of the risks are also found at each and every step. So as other conventional market is facing operational risk or the institution rigidity, similarly, this is also being faced by sukuk in capital market. In addition, we will look into general perception that most sukuk implementation doesn't follow Sharia rules. So this is also important. Sometimes there are the two type of the perception due to which people are considering, even when you talk about Islamic banking or the Islamic financial institutions, those people who are not familiar with these kind of things, like Hazrat Ali says, "Annasu adau lima jahilu," that people who don't know about anything, they become enemy of this specific thing. So likewise, some people, they are not able even to know about what is Islamic law business contract, what the contracts are there found, how current account is being managed under Qarz, saving accounts under the Mudarba, joint venture under Musharaka, or the other asset type of the product. They don't know. Even some of them are not able to know about balance sheet or the other financial statements. But while talking about these kind of things, they confidently say that this is not possible to bring it. So those who don't have knowledge, their remedy is to seek knowledge about Islamic finance, then they can discuss. And the secondly, some kind of the practices of these financial institutions or the structure of the sukuk or the secondary market arrangement or other kind of, or in the case of default, when their sukuk is restructured. So at that time, some of the violations are there. This is the problem of practitioners of Islamic financial industries and the regulators. They should adopt a sound framework so that these type of violation may not help in making perception of public about these kind of things. From this perspective, this is very, very sensitive about Sharia compliance risk. Usually, when you move that your departure from Sharia rules, this matures your credit risk and they rush to take back their funds. And after this one, there appear different type of crisis. So therefore, people perception, how to educate them, how to spend on research and development, and how to make ourselves prudent with the practices of Islamic law. So in such a way, we can improve this perception of different people about sukuk and other Islamic financial industry. Undesirable risk affect competitiveness of the pricing of asset. Therefore, innovation of sukuk essentially involves a higher exposure to certain risks. So this is also very important that while pricing the assets, competitiveness or the other kind of the innovation or the other kind of the things are the new practices in market. When we adopt these new structure or new kind of the thing or some kind of the efficient sukuk structure we import from other countries, and according to our own environment from concerned authority, when we take approval, so they may appear some kind of the new risk or other kind of the things. So while moving on, we should be very careful about risk perspective as we consider Profit is motive for these kind of things, but with profit, conformity of this Sukuk with Sharia is the basic ingredient. And after this one, according to your market, you are supposed to manage the risk as well. So now there is the our second subtopic, what is very important after knowing about Sukuk structure and risk, how they are integrated with each other. Here we have completed this one of the subtopic. Okay, so after knowing about risks, different type of the risk and how these are associated with Sukuk structure, now there is the subtopic at your provided have this workshops subtopics. This is risk management in Sharia perspective, whether this is allowed according to Islamic law to manage risk. So this is very interesting. Usually those people who are not familiar with these applied practices, when you talk about with these modern terms, that risk management in Islamic finance, so they say the market that was there at time of below profit, this was so simple market. There were only a few transactions or the things there were found. And in these modern this modern time, when these different type of terms are being introduced into Islamic finance, so this is so strange for them. But as a counter argument, you can say that Islam is a complete code of life until the day of judgment. Our holy prophet, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, introduced himself with 6 attributes as compared to other prophets. They don't have, but our holy prophet have. He says, فُضِّلْتُ عَلَى الْأَنْبِيَاءِ بِسِتٍّ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided to me preference to prophets in 6 different aspects. So in these all 6 aspects, you would be able to know that Holy Prophet says that أُرْسِلْتُ إِلَى الْخَلْقِ كَافَّةً, that I am sent to all creature of Allah Almighty. And وَخُتِمَ بِيَ النَّبِيُّونَ, the last one is I am last prophet of Allah. So in such a way, the guidance of Holy Prophet is till the day of judgment. It means when Holy Prophet is having Islam, he provided us Islam as a complete code of life that is workable till the day of judgment. Definitely, all the modern terms of the market structures and guideline for them is provided clearly there in verses of Quran, in traditions of our beloved Prophet, or through analogy or other juristic tools. We develop consensus and conduct a discourse of ijtihad. So in such a way, we update Islamic knowledge stream and we provide complete guidance to all kind of modern terms and modern practices, because Islam is a complete code of life. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent beloved prophet as seal to prophets. Until the day of judgment, the guidance of beloved prophet is the only guidance. So therefore, we are supposed to investigate this specific perspective from Sharia, so that while in this modern era, at the one side, we are providing solution to market what is interest free. And at the second side, we are actually confirming that really Islam is a complete code of life and its all teachings are workable till the day of judgment. Even in financial market, risk finance, what is the currently going on in last century, after Modigliani, Miller and the mates are these kind of people when they appear with different kind of theories. So after this one, it was reshaped with the modern terms. Despite this modern revival of finance and its literature, we can see that Islam is compatible with modern practices and how Islam tells us about risk management. So while risk cannot be avoided in Islamic finance, Islam recommends taking prudent precautions to mitigate risk. So there we can see the first evidence is there taken from the verses of Holy Quran, and the second as well. The first is that one of the story in Holy Quran is about Sayyiduna Yusuf, and this is called in Quran Ahsan al-Qasas. Okay, in verse 55, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about Sayyiduna Yusuf when he was thrown by his brothers in well, and after this one he reached there in Egypt, and after this one he asked, Ij'alni ala khazain al-ardi inni hafizun alim. Okay, while when he discussed the dreams, and after this one he said that appoint me your finance minister, I will manage all the things. Then how in next 5 years and the next coming era, there was the fear of famine, for the drought. how he managed the things. So in such a way, you can see that there was the fear of drought or the famine. Then he saved some kind of things for the future, and he managed the risk that was supposed to get mature before time. So in such a way, risk management in practices of Sayyiduna Yusuf as finance minister in same domain, what we are discussing, this provide basis from the verses of Holy Quran. Okay. Likewise, the second thing is writing of contract, whether these are spot or the deferred. Okay, this is recommended in verses of Quran, as Quran says, ya ayyuhallazina amanu idza tadayantum ila ajalin musamma faktubuhu. O believers, when you have any contract what is related to future date, okay, or the future obligation, you must keep the things in writing. So this type of the recommendation of writing the contract, whether spot or the deferred. Why Quran is recommending this one? Because in future they may appear any kind of dispute, or due to gharar, do you may live, because the annal gharara yufdi ila niza. This is there in Islamic jurisprudence literature in al-fiqh al-Islami, that this gharar, what is related to happening future events, are these kind of things what are unspecified, mufdi ila niza, that may lead ultimately to disputes. So therefore, all these kind of first we are prohibited to deal in interest based practices. Then the second external attributes, what is in contract, this is gharar. And Rasulullah sallallahu anil gharar, our holy prophet prohibited from gharar. So legal, so why keep the things in documents or in writing? In such a way you are managing legal risk and documentation risk. Okay, then there is one of the famous hadith. That is one of the fundamental principle. A lot of the hadiths of Holy Prophet are there taken directly as the principles in different segments. Like in judiciary, al-bayyinat wal al-mudda'i wal yamin wala man ankara. That witness is on the person who come with announcement that his or her rights are violated. Okay, then to swear, this one is upon those people who are denying this kind of thing. Likewise, in financial transactions, Holy Prophet said, Al Kharaju bil Zaman. Al Kharaju bil Zaman means Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling us that entitlement of the Prophet is only when you are taking risk. Okay, no risk, no reward principle. Or it is also in modern form translated, no pain, no gain. Up to when you are not taking risk, you can never get title of prophet. You can never be entitled with prophet. So therefore, this is the hadith of Holy Prophet. It means first we are looking that Sayyiduna Yusuf, he managed the risk. And after this one, by writing the things, we are asked to manage the risk. And then in third hadith, Holy Prophet is saying, who is not taking risk cannot be entitled with profit. It means these are the different phases that Holy Prophet is pushing us to take this risk. Then you are able to be entitled with profit. Al-Kharaju bil Zaman. It is having very detailed interpretation by different jurists, Sayyiduna Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi, Imam Malik, Ahmad bin Hanbal, and other in Islamic jurisprudence literature. Then there is legitimacy of collateral. This is also very important, legitimacy of collateral. In next slide, I have brought two ahadith of Holy Prophet about legitimacy of this collateral. What is titled in jurisprudence literature, Kitabur Rehin. Kitabur Rehin, what is Rahin, what is Murtahin, what is Male Marhoon, all the things are there in detail. In briefly, in books of Al-Quduri, in Al-Fiqh al-Islami, you are able to know about this kind of thing, that this is in detail discussed in Al-Hidayah and Badai Sanafi Tartib al-Sharai by Imam Kasani. So they all have discussed in Islamic literature that is on the basis of Quran and Sunnah. What ahadith are providing basis to this rehan? So we can discuss as collateral in next slide. Then don't give your amwal to on the basis of safaha. It means if an orphan is there who is immature, or the person who is not a proper person, who is not so wise to understand the matters, or there is some kind of the problem in understanding the things. Okay, due to this problem, you are not supposed to give these assets and property right on the basis of this immaturity. So why? Because there is the risk that he or the she may lose these kind of things. So therefore guardian are not allowed on the basis of safaha, immaturity, to give the things to him. This is also a kind of risk management, and this is one of the important thing in al fiqh al islami. Personal guarantee as zamana. Okay, sometime some people, they ask for personal guarantee. Some other institutes in our courts, this is the culture that zamana is asked personal guarantee. So why? Because yet a person is under trial, but he want to go out from this specific police station or the from jail. So what happened? So there a person who is having who is credible into society. He comes and gives personal guarantee about this person that he will come back. So not only about financial matter, about a person's obligation, a personal guarantee or the azamana. This is allowed according to Islamic law. So how? Because court is going to manage the risk that this person may not flew away. So therefore, personal guarantee is acquired. So in such a way, risk is managed from Sharia perspective. Then in Maqasad al-Sharia, what are well organized by Imam Ghazali, and after this one, in Al-Muwafiqat, Imam Shatibi has explained all these objectives in a very handful way. And these are also adopted by by Imam Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Qayyim as well in their writings. And in modern time period, in the last quarter of last century, Alal Fasi and Tahir bin Ashur, two names are well known, who provided literature in Arabic by writing different books on maqasid. So in such a way, maqasid are very important tools in line with the juristic tools that support to update Islamic knowledge stream while conducting ijtihad. So they according to maqasid sharia, there is the protection of deen, and likewise aqal and other kind of the things. And one is the protection of mal. For this one, to manage the risk, this is also in line with the objectives of sharia. No, about from Sharia perspective, what was the practice of Holy Prophet about rehin? Our Holy Prophet, as narrated by Sayyida Aisha Siddiqa, Prophet Sallallahu purchased food grain from a Jew on credit. Okay, when this was credit transaction, and mortgaged his iron armor to him. Okay, he provided his own iron armor as the collateral to him, that up to when he will not pay back the price, this would be a collateral with you. And so what was the purpose? The purpose is that if someone is not able to pay back, then this this iron armor would be liquidated, and all kind of the bill what is as a creditor there present, that would be covered. Then on the authority of Sayyiduna Ans bin Malik, next hadith, this is also in Sahih Bukhari, in Kitabul Bayu, likewise in Musnad Ahmad and Nasai and Ibn Majah, in four books. In four important books, this one is there, that our Prophet mortgaged his armor to Jews in Medina and bought barley bread from the Jew for his family. Okay. So this one is also practice of Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. In particular, it is permitted to make mitigation of risk one of the key aims in the design of Islamic financial instrument. This is the bottom line conclusion after discussing all the things what are related to Sharia perspective, practice of Sayyiduna Yusuf, then to write down the things according to instruction of Quran. Okay. Likewise, we discussed that how our Holy Prophet himself practiced. Then he provided a principle of kharaj bis zaman. Likewise, there is the personal surety and other kind of the things. These are actually examples and the recommendations about risk management from Sharia perspective. Okay, so next, and on the bottom line, you can see that when this is not only in theory, but this is also there in practices. When this one is there in practices, so it means that this is the responsibility of each and every person who is there, especially while doing or while practicing in modern markets. If there is risk, then to manage risk according to market, this is important. But one thing should be very clearly defined, that anything or any adopted practice should not directly contradict with verses of Quran and with traditions of Holy Prophet. Otherwise, the things what are there, because there is the general law of permissibility, alastu fil ashiyai alaybaha ma lam yuntaha fil Quran wa sunnah, that permissibility as the general rule is prevailing there up to when it is not contradicting with the verses of Quran and traditions of Holy Prophet. By keeping this principle, we are having a degree of freedom to propose different new models and to adopt these modern practices while working there. Okay. So there some essential features of the risk management framework for Islamic finance are also there. Not only it is recommended, but we can see that inherently all the Islamic law of the business contract or the system what are provided to us, they are having feature of risk management. So in such a way, some things are there as the precautionary measures. So in precautionary measures, we are said not to deal with some specific things, with some specific commodities, and even they are declared haram while saying them impermissible. So in such a way, what happened? If we see our modern practices of risk management, we can see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Holy Prophet is prohibiting from some kind of things. The objective is to protect us from some kind of harm, to give us some kind of benefit, to protect us from some kind of harm before maturing. It means there is risk management. So if we see Islamic law business contract from different perspective, this is not time to discuss them in detail, but I can give an overview of these kind of things, what type of the things are acquired. And actually, you can see this is risk management from Sharia perspective, and from the literature of Islamic jurisprudence, we can see these kind of things. The requirement for the risk sharing is an essential feature of risk management framework of Islamic finance. As Junaid and Azhar in 2010, they have explained the things, namely, transactions should be backed by real asset. Okay, if there is not a real asset in their backup, then this is not possible to cover the loss if anyone face. Like in crisis of 2007-8, you can see that almost conventional market completely collapsed. And at this time, those who what were actually debt oriented, near to these conventional concepts, they also collapsed. But those who were backed up with some kind of real asset, or the other Islamic house financing ijara arrangement, diminishing musharka arrangement, when these were having some kind of real asset, okay, although there was the impact of downfall, but it was not worse as compared to other investments. So therefore, transactions should be backed by the real asset. These should not be so nominal that these create in market bubbles, and that may lead ultimately to some kind of crisis. Ownership of assets should be genuine. Okay, this is general instruction for the derived from the literature of Islamic law business contract, from Fiqhul Muamalat al Maliya, Islamic law of business contracts. Ownership of assets should be genuine. Legal ownership should reflect the underlying economic reality. It means the ownership what you have in stocks, okay, or you are equity holder. So all these things should be genuine, not on the basis of the some name and fame. Okay, and therefore ownership of these assets, when you are having this legal ownership, then you are able to sell this kind of thing to the next one. Otherwise, you are not allowed. Risk depends on real asset value. Okay, what is the real asset value? This should be assessed properly, and after this one, we can define how risk is associated with this one. Transactions should be free of riba and gharar, as already I was explaining, that when you are inviting riba or the gharar, and after this one you are keeping yourself at risk, and this risk may be related to your own personal individual transaction, and it is definitely related to your collective society as well. So therefore these transactions should be free from riba and gharar. Different type of the wisdom behind prohibition of riba and the gharar is there explained in verses of Quran and different traditions of Holy Prophet. Real investment is permitted while speculation is forbidden. Okay, so it means real investment is very important. Up to when you don't have the real thing, you should not do investment in it, because speculation is forbidden. Any kind of the future forecasting or the future speculation, or you are hedging, you are having different kind of the arbitrage or the future contracts by having agreed to reap in future. So these kind of the speculation, these are already prohibited, like innamal khamr wal maisar wal ansab wal ajlam wal maisar wal ansab wal azlam rijsu min amal shaitan fajtanibuhu la'allakum tuflihun. Okay, so this is associated not only with success of in this life but about life hereafter, that the gambling based or the lottery based or the game of the chance, these kind of the things are there, prohibited completely, what are related to speculative speculations. Fixed and guaranteed rate of return are not permitted. Likewise, if someone is investing and while investing he or the she is fixing that this is his or her share specified by them, this one is not allowed according to Islamic law. Okay, so you can define proportionate of any kind of investment in net profit of your income statement, like you take different kind of dividends, but dividend policy is different. Their determination of these dividends are different. But if I talk about any Islamic investments, like if you are conducting an investment through mudarba, so you can't say that this specific proportion of my invested capital is of mine. No, these predetermination is not allowed, or the guarantee is not allowed. Yes, after conducting business at the and after negating all kind of the expenses in income loss statement, and after paying the taxes, when you reach to the net profit, proportion of this specific net profit are the defined policy that is for the reinvestment purpose or the other kind of thing that may according to going concern approach, you can do this kind of thing. But invested capitals specific proportion like this is done in conventional market, this one is not allowed. So therefore these kind of the things are already prohibited from this market. Another slide will also facilitate us about these kind of things. There you can see that almost these things are there explained from different perspective. Okay, we can see these 2 points are important for us. Overall, an Islamic investor must avoid riba in any form, given charging or the receiving. In addition, Islamic investor must also avoid forbidden economic activities, which include producing, dealing in alcohol, drugs, and other needed medical. Yes, for the medical purpose, you can adopt these kind of things. Otherwise, these kind of the things are not allowed. Why? Because this is actually risk management, and the risk is the Sharia compliance risk. If you are dealing in these kind of thing, your core business activity is haram. So in while auditing these kind of the alcohol, one is the you are accountable to Allah Almighty, and the second one is your own system, your governance framework, your corporate governance practices, and your auditing standards. So in auditing your, if your core business activity is in haram products, then your this product would be wide, and you will go to default. So this is important to consider, that all kind of the provisions what are they provided from Sharia perspectives, these are for risk management. Okay, then reflection of risk in Sukuk market, how this risk reflects there in Sukuk market. So these ethical requirements for further dimensions of the risk in Islamic finance that are generally not present in conventional finance. So therefore, this open a door toward underpin risk identification in Islamic finance theory, and how this identification mechanism reflect on Sukuk as its recent existing Islamic finance instrument in global financial market. So there we can see modern risk measurement tools are also in line with Sharia, as risk measurement deals with the quantification of risk exposure. We can adopt the following risk management methods, which are value neutral. And you are familiar about these kind of things because I am told that you are having your finance background. So therefore, these range analysis typical what are found. Probability distribution or the standard deviation, coefficient of variation, gap analysis, scenario analysis, modern for portfolio theory with the specific value of beta. So in such a way, all these modern tools can also be applied while measuring this risk by assigning different kind of the things, or the some things are the qualitative there, then we can use some kind of dummy variables, and we can move to modeling of this risk, and after this one we can manage to adopt these kind of things. These are said value neutral. It means if you are measuring interest by them, so the accountant's job or these kind of things is going wide according to Sharia. But if the Sharia compliance risk or the other kind of the risk for the Sukuk or the investment, but the Sharia based, you are managing the things. So these are actually value neutral, and this one would be allowed. So how by different regulatory authorities or the different other our agencies, this type of the risk is managed. So we can see that IFSB, Islamic Financial Services Board, that is Malaysia-based and Bahrain-based IOP, Accounting and Auditing Organization of Islamic Financial Institutions. They provide standard on different aspects. IOP on Sharia, accounting principles, then auditing, code of ethics, governance standards are provided by them. Some modern practices are incorporated, and risk management framework is provided by IFSB, Islamic Financial Services Board, for the different kind of thing. So IFSB 7 standard talks about Sukuk, securitization, and real estate, and different kind of the risk management practices as well are discussed there. Likewise, IOFI's Sharia standard 17, this is about investment Sukuk. So in such a way, we can see that how they have incorporated these kind of things, and other are supportive to them. These are there shown in this slide. Okay, now the important aspect is also there, that what is the documentation of Sukuk. This is also another, you can say, one of the subtopic, or what is important for us to know about documentation of Sukuk. So documentation of Sukuk is one of very important aspect that can be discussed from different perspectives, as you discussed the structure of Sukuk in yesterday's session. There were different steps, there were different ways by which this title of Sukuk was moving on, then the cash flow was there at different steps. So all these steps, what are there? Against each and every step, when one of the Sukuk security is transferred, one of the document is essential need of this one. So therefore, some important points to review are important, that technically Sukuk represent ownership of asset, or the asset usufruct or the services. It depends. Ownership of asset, when it is based upon different kind of the contracts, but are sale or the equity based. Usufruct, when this is on the basis of ijara, lease contract. So subject to vehicle contracts, it is defined that what type of the ownership is there, ownership of asset or the ownership of usufruct. Usufruct means manfia, and this usufruct is actually subject matter of ijara contract. Like some kind of the commodity what you are selling is the subject matter of this contract, because around subject matter all the contract revolves. So this is important to determine what is the subject matter. If you are selling some commodity, this is the subject matter. If you are hiring some kind of the thing, then usufruct of this commodity is the subject matter. Okay, so assets usufruct or its own ownership is actually that is represented by the Sukuk, subject to vehicle contracts, what the contract you have. The claim embodied in the Sukuk is not just a claim on the underlying asset used in the Sukuk transaction, but also the right of the cash flow and the proceeds from the sale of the assets. Okay, so it means that underlying asset or the Sukuk transaction is very important. Up to when the cash flow is not working and you are not moving on to the next step, you can't sell this kind of thing. Okay, in ijara sukuk, the sukuk is akin to trust certificates establishing undivided ownership of the leased asset and the right of the cash flow arising from it. So this is important that in ijara, up to when the leased asset is not giving usufruct, your cash flow as a rentals are not arising from it. So this is undivided ownership. It means this is actually under undivided ownership of this specific commodity, because you are supposed to take its usufruct, and against the usufruct you are paying rentals. So in such a way your cash flows are working. So these are some important points to review. In case of ijara, in case of sukuk issued as the evidence of indebtedness arising from the sale of the asset backed or the contracts of exchange other than ijara, such as those originating from murabaha or the istisna, the claim is on obligation stemming from applied contract of exchange, not ownership of the physical asset, as ownership has been transferred to the obliger. So this is important that while talking about different sukuk, about their cash flow, about contracts, what is vehicle contract? First, this is the prerequisite. You must know about what are the conditions and how different contracts are different from each other. So according to this contractual obligation, this sukuk is working. Sukuk itself is representing one of the face value, and how it is maturing, how it is being transferred, how the cash flows are working. This depends on the nature of contract, what is the vehicle contract of this sukuk. So if there is the change of contract, you are moving to the murabha and istisna. This is also having different kind of the obligation among parties. Okay. Then in case of investment vehicle, these are funded through musharka or the mudarba. The sukuk represent holders' undivided interest in specific investment. That these are undivided interest among them up to when your musharka and mudarba is not completing their natural time and not executing in specific way. You can't define the things, because when this execute after bearing all kind of the risk, after paying all kind of the cost, now you are at net profit, then specific proportion or the profit ratio of this net profit, this is actually your share. So up to when it is not getting mature, so this is undivided interest in specific investment. The same things or the same feature reflect in musharka scoop, and the profits are distributed as according to pre-agreed ratio with mutual consent of parties. Okay. Then each mudarba sukuk holder or the investor on other hand holds equal value in mudarba equity. Okay, as the rabbul mal or the mudarib capital provider, okay, who is also fund provider, and likewise the other person who is providing skill as a laborer working. So they all are having the same value in mudarba equity. So we can't define this undivided interest before time. Profit will be shared according to pre-agreed ratio between mudarba investors, and the sukuk shared sukuk shared equally among the mudarba investors. So contractual vehicle is very important. Structure of the sukuk, to understand the structure of sukuk is very important. The main contract, what is leading this sukuk, its feature, its characteristics, its conditions, and its all procedure would be considered while talking about cash flows or the maturity of the sukuk in all kind of the documentation. Okay, so up to when you are not familiar with these contracts, you can't manage the documentation of sukuk. And documentation of sukuk not only while originating it, with all the processes, all the phases up to the execution of this sukuk. This is important from all perspective, Sharia perspective, documentation, then from accounting perspective, then from auditing perspective, according to nature of contract, this would be defined. Okay, equity-based sukuk are based on the contract of partnership, which allows two or the more parties to develop wealth by sharing risk and return, like musharka mudara we have discussed. So in according to their nature of these both contracts, then this affect their documentation and their responsibilities. Equity based Sukuk structure don't represent direct ownership of the rights in tangible assets. Instead, it represents ownership of the rights in outcome of the partnership venture. Assets of the particular projects are the special investment activities. So this is very important to consider. In legal terms, a share of underlying tangible asset, which is the foundation of partnership model. Hence, shares in partnership are regarded as asset, which are then securitized through Sukuk issuance. So while issuing Sukuk, if you are providing some kind of specific documentation, you must see whether this type of the Sukuk is based on equity, or this is on the base of a sale contract or other kind of the contract. Accordingly, the originator will provide all kind of the documentation and all kind of the guarantees. Then debt-based Sukuk can be structured on the debt structure model, which is based on the contract of exchange. These exchange contracts are sale contracts, which allow transfer of commodity or an other commodity on the transfer of the commodity for money following with the different following Islamic principles. So in such a way you can see like sale based contracts are the murabaha by musafama, what is the ordinary sale that is found in our market, salam and istisna as the future contract, but originally there are the sale contracts. Okay, when you are talking about them, so your cash is flowing from one side to the from the buyer to the seller, and the seller is giving ownership of this specific commodity to them. So in such a way, the documentation what would be managed, that would be accordingly. If there is a debt based, when the relationship is the lender and borrower, so definitely there would be documentation according to their obligations. Okay, if there is some kind of the partnership base, so all these slides are telling us about nature of the interaction, and accordingly the things would be managed. So documentation of Sukuk, if we come after knowing about these some primary points about the nature of the contracts and essential documents, now there is Sukuk subscription agreement, the master agreement, which provide an overview of the facility as it highlights the agreement executed and the security guaranteed and the description of the parties, like common terms in the documents. These are found availability period, purpose and the facility of description. All these documents are filled by the originator, and the SPV manages all these kind of things, special purpose vehicle, in between investor and the originator. Then the agreement to subscribe, payment by the primary subscriber. Okay, all the method would be defined, utilization of proceeds, how the proceeds would be utilized, how much for the operational cost, how much would be the given to the Sukuk holder, and how much for the wear tear. Conditions present to the availability of Sukuk security. Okay, if some kind of the collateral is there, as we were discussing from refer perspective, so this these conditions would be also defined there. Issues and redemption of the Sukuk, if there is the problem or the some kind of the issues are also there, and how the Sukuk redeems, all the things would be discussed in specific document. To representation and the warranties, likewise events of the default and dissolution events and the governing law. So event of the default, then what would be the restructuring method, or how the things will go to the end. So governing law, it means the governing law, what is found there in your Security and Exchange Commission, or the other kind of the governing body, or the other kind of the regulator, what is found there. This would also be defined that the what law, home law will govern this one. Okay, law of land, what type of the law of land will govern this kind of the specific security. These are the common terminologies that are being used there. Okay, now there are the different documentation of the Sukuk from perspective of the trust deed. What are the common terms in these documents? These are the subject to because I am pushed because of the shortage of time, and I have all of them explained there. Trust deed, what is trust deed, as we have discussed all these kind of things while talking about different contracts, but some common terms what are there in documents for them, all of them are explained there according to nature of contract. as depository and the paying agency agreement. So this agreement allows issuer to appoint an agent. Okay, this is actually about agency agreement, wakala based, as you discussed yesterday in your Sukuk structure. So one of the agent is there. When agent is there, it means who is the originator is the principal, and the person who is taking this obligation is agent under wakala, under agency agreement. While talking about agency agreement, definitely its documentation and its fundamental differences and its all kind of the terms are there explained in these slides, and their common terms in the documents are there explained while talking about ijara asset and the lease agreement. In ijara, there are the separate documentation and the titles are there explained, the rental period, rental amount, and the payment message, sublease of ijara asset, termination of ijara, what would be expiry at event of default or the dissolution event, representation and the warranties and the convenience, all the things. And these documents are recommended by different consultant agencies, and after this one adopted by different countries according to their own governing law. And these documents and are the essential documents for lease based Sukuk structure. So these common terms are they're used in these documents, and all of them are important because against every document there is specific risk what is targeted, and this risk is being managed from different perspective. And likewise you can see that serving and the management agreement for ijara Sukuk. Okay, as the contract nature is different, common terms in the documents also changes, and some additional documents are there defined, are the sum of them but are unnecessary, these are skipped for this one. Then sale and purchase undertaking. Sale and purchase undertaking means that where there is the sale as the vehicle contract in Sukuk. So their common terms in the documents are there defined from the different manners of the application, exercise undertaking, exercise notice, execution of the sale and purchase agreement, time of the payment, because sometime there is a ijara agreement, but when this lease time expires, when your residual value is zero according to depreciation, then after this one you gift this one or you sell this kind of thing, ownership is transferred by the different, or against token money this is transferred. What type of the documents are there under the this Sukuk structure, all of them are explained there with different terms for you to facilitate you. Like musharka Sukuk agreement, it's a different common terms and documents are there explained, specification of musharka venture, contribution of capital by investor, appointment of manager for the all the things would be defined clearly among parties, and provision for the profit and loss sharing, what policy would be about this one. Like we have different dividend policy in conventional financial markets. Likewise this policy about profit and loss sharing are the some provisions are provided there so that these things can be smoothly defined. So what are the duties in relation taking up the takafur and insurance cover for ijara asset in this one, then expenses in relation to the management of ijara assets. So these are explained clearly that one thing is very important in Islamic finance, who is the owner bears all type of the risk. So therefore insurance cover would also be provided, or the premium would be provided by the owner. If as a lessor you are giving some kind of thing to lessee, according to conventional lease, when the rentals or the other kind are included while pricing this lease product. But in Islamic finance, because owner is the lessor, so therefore all type of the risk would be borne by him. So this makes sense that insurance cover would be, or then case of Islamic finance, the kaful cover would be purchased by lessor, not by lessee, and the premium would be charged upon lessor, not on lessee. So these type of accordingly documents also change. Okay, and next we can see that purchase undertaking in musharka Sukuk, these are also related to the musharka structure, all these kind of things, specific events for the application exercises of undertaking. Likewise other documents, some of the documents are repeatedly these are being repeated because why, because the same risk are found for all type of the products. Like in Islamic products, promissory note is given. Promissory note that the subscriber promises that he or the she will not purchase this thing from some other one. And in such a way, this market risk can be covered by this kind of the specific promissory note. And this is essential document for all type of the Islamic financial products. Likewise, in Sukuk or the different structures, some of the documents are common. We can see that like specified even for the application exercise of undertaking pricing musharka asset. So this is also called exercise price, manner of application, exercise of undertaking, exercise of notice, execution of sale purchase agreement, time of the payment of exercise price. These are actually essential terms of what are being used in documentation of this mudarba. So in documentation about mudarba, there are the some things that you can see that the purchase undertaking, it is generally similar to the musharka documentation, including pricing issues as per IOF Sharia standard pronouncement. Management agreement, this may be included, though for mudarib entrepreneur who is the manager, no fee is payable, only share profit is assigned. Okay, additional fee would not be given to entrepreneur because this is the mudarib and this is actually partner in profit. All the terms and conditions are reflected in documentation. So there we can see that how takaful products for Sukuk, this is the last subtopic. The first insurance policy to cover the Sukuk in market, they explained that this was the ICIEC. This was actually Islamic cooperation for the insurance of the investment and export credit. Almost on the basis of the same procedure, other products are being offered from others, but this was the first one, and it was the member of Islamic Development Bank. So there you can see that Sukuk policy profile. First, there is the rationale and what is the objective. All the things are there defined about insurance policy for the Sukuk. Gaps in Islamic capital market in terms of supporting Sukuk issuance, or lack of the third party guarantee. Okay, member countries need to mobilize resources from capital market and development of Islamic financial services industry. It means all the member countries of IDB, okay, Islamic Development Bank, they participate in this specific pool by which Sukuk takaful products for the Sukuk were being offered. What is the objective? The Islamic Cooperation for the Insurance of Investment and Export Credit is a member of the Islamic ISDB. So its position as the world's only Sharia compliant credit and political risk insurer make it the prime party to issue third party guarantee in form of takaful. How this guarantee can be given, in last session we will discuss this aspect in detail according to Sharia, whether this is allowed or not allowed. This is also one of the disputed thing from when the same lessee is in case of ijara is assigned as the guarantor of this one. But if you are taking third party, yeah, this is mentioned in their document, then there is no difference of opinion among jurists. So key benefits, credit enhancement of Sukuk structure. So when this specific takaful product is given to Sukuk, then its credit enhances in Sukuk structure. There is the better rating, better pricing. It improves risk management, increases financing facility, help in structuring Sharia compliant financial facilities. So these are the key benefit after having this takaful product for the Sukuk that affect in the Sukuk for the better writing, better pricing. It improves risk or other kind of thing. What type of the risks are covered in this specific takaful product? Political and non-payment risk, insolvency of the originator, failure or the refusal of originator to pay on the due date. Okay, after this one we can see that currency in convertibility or the transfer restriction imposed by the obliger's country. Okay, exploration or the confiscation of the government intervention in business of the obliger if there is the war or the civil disturbances in originators countries. So internationally this specific takaful product is provided for the Sukuk, especially for those Sukuk what are floated in international market. So in such a way this helps to improve their efficiency. So who is the eligible originator from the member country is the eligible. Likewise ijara Sukuk only in this case is it was the started. Although, however, it is extended to the other structures as well. Asset-backed structure is only acceptable there. Other kind of the structures are not allowed. Its tenure is up to 15 years, and it covers almost 95% of total face value. So in such a way we can see, and these kind of the structures and the process flows are there, what facilitate us and what tells us about different kind of the cash flows, and how policy is issues, and after this one how claim appeared there, and how this structure is adopted. So due to shortage of time, right now I am not able to explain all these process flows, but it is very easy, and all the description is there provided with it. This is not a big deal. Now I am coming to the final thing. This is underwriting approach. Underwriting approach, what is the originator, asset class and underlying originator's history, what is their business history? So this is important. Security, is the underlying asset sufficient to secure payment in event of the problem or the default? So underwriting approach from all these perspective, this would, if there is the surety, and after this one, this is possible. Otherwise, if there is not conformity in any aspect, then it would not be allowed. Likewise, does the issuers have cash reserves regarding to issuers balance sheet? Okay, Stanley access to ensure the timely payment. What is the nature, history, and consistency of issuers cash flow? Okay, what coverage does this provide for the future? Likewise, some other questions are about the sourcing. Will the originator service collection related to the underlying asset? Is the originator skilled and competent to perform this or not? Okay, countries as sectors, country rating, likewise all these things related to different sectors would also be discussed. Then after this underwriting approach, they are able to subscribe with these kind of the insurance industry, what are there defined about to provide the kafel products for the spook, up to when they don't have originators complete profile with them. Takaful industry, what is related to the products of Scoop, they don't accept these kind of things. Now, this is all about today's risks related to the Scoop market. And from we have discussed up to now risk from different perspective in Scoop transaction. One, from what is the risk management from Sharia perspective, documentation, case studies, and what is takaful products for the spook. We have discussed one of the case of the first takaful industry. Now you are welcome. If you are having any question, you may ask.
Thank you so much, sir. The session 4 has ended. Now we are having a break for 25 minutes. So the session 5 will start at 11:35 a.m. at Bangladesh time. Thank you so much. The next session will start at 11:35 a.m. Thank you. And 10:35 a.m. at Pakistan time. Thank you so much.